So I'm curious. Could a guy do what you're doing and be successful like you?
Oh, okay. Such a good question, John. All right. Do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Specify that part of it. Specify that part of it for me because I feel like I do a lot of things in a day and I want to make sure that I'm answering the question you're actually asking.
Okay, well that's fair. Let's go over your social media. Do you think it
Mhm.
would have made an impact of keeping it hot or how to keep it hot if it was a guy doing it?
Okay, I think that I have a certain set of innate characteristics that definitely help me here. Okay. First of all, I worked with teenagers for a couple decades. So it's easy for me to disarm people and say, yeah, the things that we're going to talk about and the things that I'm going to suggest you do are really going to be like fun and easy and you should go along with them. Second, there are a lot of people who are trying to look sexy online. And even though I talk about sex, I don't really fit into that category, whether it's like the Ninjago t-shirts or me showing up without makeup or talking about how my favorite gluten-free pizza crust gives me so much gas. Whatever it is, I give off this big sister vibe that doesn't make me polarizing. It's easy for couples to share my content. And because I was the 10-year-old who would sit down my best friend's mom's at the kitchen table on Saturday afternoons, my favorite way to spend a Saturday afternoon was to corner one of my friend's moms, sit her down and ask her, tell us the pros and cons of every method of birth control. Tell us all about it. Okay. And that was my favorite way to spend a day. And I didn't realize till my 20th high school reunion that like that was awkward for other people, like awkward for everybody else who sat down at the table with my friends and their moms. And my friend Jamie said to me, Ashleigh, do you know how Catholic my mom is? Like, she's so Catholic, like she was then and she is now. So there are a few different things around this that I think are like, they fit together like a Rubik's Cube to like, yeah, I can talk about vibrators. I can talk about, hey, don't like oral sex? Here are some ideas. And people can forward it to their partner, right? My videos are shared hundreds and thousands of times one-to-one. Just as easily as the video where I say, hey, you want to get your kids to clean the house? You want your kids to wash the floor really well? Get 3 mops. And you know what? The dirty rooms, have every kid wash that kitchen floor, right? Like, let's split this up, but everybody, like the kitchen gets three people going over it. And people just go, hey, what she's saying kind of makes sense. And I think if I was a guy saying, hey, here, I got some ideas for blowjobs, it wouldn't hit the same way.
No, agreed. I've seen some people try to replicate your material online, both men and women, and it just doesn't hit. Like, you have this ability to make the topic of sex comfortable for people. Cause that's not, I feel like if a guy was doing it, I know if I was doing it, it'd be like, yeah, here's how to give a good blowjob. Like, or here's how to, you know what I mean?
I like her quick take style too. It's like how to make monogamy hot. And then she does a different angle and then this angle. And it's like, it's quick and to the point. And she's very dry with it too. It's like, this is how you do it. It's like, this is the technical way to do it.
Making it like it's no big deal. This is the thing that I learned coaching adolescents, that if you're grounded in, yes, you're going to lift this girl over your head. She's wearing skates, you're wearing skates. And then you just put them down like this. And here's what you do so you don't like slice your body open. Got it? Okay. People are much more likely to do it without being afraid, right? And there's so much taboo and there's so much confusion and junk around sex for so many people, like sex, money, God. Whoa, right? And in my book, Swing, I really, the first scene of the book, I'm at an invite-only sex party in New York City that you guys remember. It looks like a casting call for The Bachelor. And you think, whoa, this lady's crazy, okay? right? I'm making out with this guy in the bathroom, then I go out and I say, yeah, I'm scanning the crowd for my husband and my chapstick, right? And people are like, who is this? And then it's like, oh, I'm just actually a regular person, and I'm going to talk about what it feels like to be a human in the world. And I think that's why so many men relate to my story. So many people who are unmarried relate to swing, because I just go, it's like I open up my human suit and go, this is what it feels like in here. And they go, oh my God, I see myself. Because I just go, that's where I feel like the real taboo is. And that's where I feel like actually people have had the biggest reactions to swing, is when I'm talking about my feelings, or I'm talking about my struggle with spirituality, or the struggle with my mother-in-law. Like it's those things that I think hit even deeper for people.
No, absolutely. It's very relatable, and it's not like an unachievable thing that we can't relate to. So it's been about a year since we last spoke to you. Yeah. What's like the craziest thing that you've learned helping people? Because I've seen you help a lot more like people that are either divorced or on the verge to becoming divorced.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's where you're spending a lot of time with, not just like couples that are in love trying to rekindle the sexual desire for each other, but what's like the biggest thing you've learned over the last year?
Okay. The biggest thing that has been confirmed to me over the last year is that, so for your audience to know, I get hundreds of DMs a day, and now I have like over 100,000 followers on Facebook. So I get Facebook question mark, scratching a head emoji. So I get messages coming in from all over the place. Whereas, it was really big on Instagram and TikTok, a year ago. The thing that I've had confirmed over and over is that being human is awkward. And we're all surprised at how uncomfortable it feels. And every one of us is looking to fill that up or numb that out. And we all reach for different things, but they're like in a few like different themes, right? The people who show up in my DMs have usually been reaching for it in through physical intimacy or like excitement with someone other than their spouse. Either they're fantasizing about it, or they're like, oh, like DMing that guy from work, or that. It's not usually, I just want everybody to know, it's not usually the guy from work. It's usually like the boyfriend from way back, whatever, a lifetime ago. And everybody knows, hey, this thing I'm doing is not actually good for me. And it's not actually good for the life I'm trying to build. But I don't know how else to make myself feel a little better. A lot of people are looking to like feel more alive in a good way, right? Because these past few years, I mean, we've all felt like really human in really bad ways, like feeling separated or feeling like, oh my God, I can't do what I want in my career. I can't live my life the way I want to because of pandemic or because of this or because of that. So, but the desire to feel full and whole and vibrant is there for every one of us every day. Okay. There's ways to numb it. And I think even when you're reaching for that other person, or a lot of times people show up in my DMs and their spouse has been unfaithful, or in so many cases, and this is the thing that surprises me, so many cases, and why is this surprising me? Because this happened in my own marriage. Okay. Surprising me. And from this moment on, it won't, because I live this. Both people in the relationship have admitted, or it's been uncovered, that they were sort of straying in some respect. A lot of times it's just emotional. And for me, it doesn't really make a difference if it was physical or if it was emotional. It was like, I can't get what I want here. Okay. And whenever we feel that way, whether it's in your job, whether it's in like your health in your body, whether it's in your relationship, we will just reach for like the lowest hanging fruit. Okay. We will reach for the thing that's like the cheapest high there is. We'll scroll, we'll shop, we'll go like, not a lot of people come to me with this, but I can like feel it under the surface. People will watch porn, they'll watch this, they'll watch that, whatever. It's like something, and none of it'll like do it for a second, but then it's like, I need to find something better or more or right, because it's not filling the spot we need filled, and that only comes from within. So annoying, right? Because you want it to be the promotion, you want it to be the house, you want it to be the hot summer body, you want it to be the thing your partner does to like make you feel loved. So annoying that it actually has to come from within. For me, it really comes from my connection with source, my spirituality, which was really a struggle that I wrote about in Swing. But the door I open in my conversations, in my reels, and more clearly in my stories, because about 20,000 people come to my stories every night just to be like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about tonight? Right? They come there to go, oh, I'm not the only one who's feeling a little empty. I'm not the only one who's feeling a little dissatisfied. Oh, there are a lot of people feeling this, because just taking off that layer of shame, if we can just like unhook from that shame for a second, we create a little space and go, all right, maybe I shouldn't loathe myself because of this. Maybe I shouldn't put all the blame on my partner. Maybe I can slow down some of these behaviors that I'm reaching towards that aren't the healthiest, that aren't filling me up. And maybe this is the reason that I had to write Swing as a memoir. I don't know if I told you guys before, but I started it as a screenplay, which is funny because I want to talk about where it's going for a series deal right now. But I wanted people to know, even when life looks really good, and I grew up as a figure skater, and I grew up in this body, like blue eyes, blonde hair, I was under the radar for like, life is hard for her. Like, nobody could really tell on the outside, right? But for me to go, oh, no, life hard, every day being human. Ooh, one of my favorite memes is that awkward moment between birth and death.
That's a good one.
That's it. That's all it says.
That one.
Right? Have you seen that one before?
I haven't seen that one. That's pretty good.
Okay. It's one. Do you get why I love it? It's like, period. Whoa, we're here and this is awkward. And I really grew up in a family and with an idea that life was only hard for you if you weren't doing it right. So opening this possibility for people to consider, giving people this invitation to consider, hey, maybe life is awkward because life is awkward. And if we know that, we can like shake off a bit of the embarrassment and shame for not having it figured out, because there's no such thing, and go, all right, what are the things I really want? What desires do I have as far as the way I live my days, the kind of relationship I have, the kind of job I have? What if my assignment here is to reach towards those things and give myself permission to actually go for them, permission to want what you want?
That's very interesting. And I was gonna ask you, like, so when you find yourself straying, I'm sure you still have vulnerable moments where you stray, or maybe your partner starts to stray. It kind of sounds like you're doing the therapy approach, where you're kind of assessing the situation, writing your thoughts down. It's a lot of introspection. So specifically, when you get into those vulnerable states, what are you doing specifically to get yourself back on track and get yourself focused?
Such a good question, because I'm so glad you brought this up, because Swing, the book, was a snapshot of our marriage and our lives and what I went through, like through a certain period, right? And here we are now. We're like 7 years past like where the story ended in Swing. Okay. And I want people to know I love my marriage. I'm so grateful that we stayed married. I'm really clear that like, it wasn't that I chose the right thing and there's a wrong. No, it could have turned out in a different way and still been an incredible gift for all of us in a different form. I love my husband and our relationship is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, but the work has not stopped. The work almost has accelerated as we've got to a better place. So what I do if the vibe is off in a conversation between the two of us, or now our oldest child is 15, he's in high school, and he's pushing against me as a mom in different ways, right? He's the one who I called an asshole 7 times before breakfast when I was homeschooling him in swing. So this is Jack, right? And he's always been the one who like I butt heads with. But now it's a little different. It looks a little bit more grown up, the way he kind of pushes against. And that can create a different dynamic with me and my partner, because I think he really, really relates to that. Like, yeah, I'm just a teenage boy trying to have some fun. And my mom's like, ruining that fun. And it's easy for Manny, my husband, to sort of go into the like, yeah, mom, why are you? And I'm like, whoa, I can only handle, like, I want you to know, there are adolescents who live in this house. I don't have sex with any of them. So if you are going to act like a teenager, like, go to the couch. I'm not going to be married to you. Like, we are the adults here. And I know it's so easy to sort of fall into that pattern. And I'll say it right there in front of him, in front of the kids. And they go, and then Manny is like, all right, she's talking about her sex life in front of the kids. Like, let's just try to get this on the right track. But I call it out right in the moment, because I remember how lonely I felt for like a decade in my marriage, when I felt misunderstood and unsupported. And I don't want that bar to drop back down. So when I feel the needle like moving, I'm like, wait a minute, woo, not feeling so good here. And I'll like stop right in the moment. It's usually in the kitchen, and go, this is feeling a little weird. What I'm doing now with the conversations with the high schooler is I'm like, you know what? I think you guys can handle this. I'm actually going to go for a walk. It's not in a passive aggressive way. It's like, and I had a conversation with Jack, our 15-year-old. And I said, listen, I've been a coach my whole life. Like, I started coaching little kids when I was 11. By the time I was 21, I was coaching Olympians. Who thought that was a good idea? I don't know. They hired me. I was the assistant strength coach for Team Canada Women's Volleyball. Every situation I've been in, I've been the leader. And I said to Jack, I see that potential in you, and I see that in your dad, and I see that in your brothers. And I want to create some space for that. So you know what I'm going to do? I may be responding a little differently situations over the next few weeks. And I want you to know, it's not because I don't care if you're following the rules. It's not that I suddenly don't care if you have your phone in your bedroom, because that's one of the rules in our house, that all screens stay on the main floor of the house. We don't have TVs in bedrooms. We don't take phones into bedrooms. And that was one of the things he was lying about. I went right to his door and I was like, oh, night, buddy, you're already in bed. Okay. Your phone's downstairs, right? He's like, yeah, it's on my desk. No, he wasn't. But I said, it's not that I don't care. It's that I know your daddy can rise up to be a leader, and I know you can too. And I know how easy it is for me to go into that role all the time for our family, that I just want us all to practice. I just want us all to practice different roles.
Well put. Yeah. Something I worry about, I'm not even there yet, but the whole empty nester situation. So let me continue. So you kind of answered that with your kids. That's kind of a helpful bond with you and your spouse is the kid, but it's also kind of a distraction as well. So for people that are going through empty nest syndrome, or whatever you're going to call it, and their kids are leaving, and they have to learn how to be a partner, like be in a couple, and what do those people do? 20 plus years of parenting.
Let's take this to what can we all do every step, every day, so that we don't have some empty nest like crisis, right? And I think that for so many people, they feel it coming. So many people are like, ooh, when the kids leave, that's my out. Or, what is it going to be like? Okay. I had the great fortune of going through my midlife crisis a little early, and maybe there's another one coming. I've always been like a little, I've been eager to grow up. So, going through it at 35, maybe it was just a stage, but I had that great privilege of my marriage imploding in my mid-30s. So I was like, okay, we need to make sure that our relationship is something of substance and love and integrity and strength and reciprocity separate from the kids. Like, can we do this? And I spent a lot of time like really doing the work myself. And I got to the realization, yeah, I don't think we can do this. And I said that to him. I think maybe we're done here. And that's wrote about it in Swing. He was like, looked at me for the first time, like my voice had been unmuted, which was amazing and incredibly irritating because I'd been talking for 15 years before that. And I didn't think he was hearing me, and he wasn't. So it was irritating. We cannot let one day go by where we are ignoring our relationship with ourselves, with our, whatever our spiritual connection is, if that's your, your prayer, your meditation, your journaling, whatever it is, walking in nature with your dog, whatever it is. We can't ignore that need for deep connection in ourselves every day. And I mean, you don't have to go to a silent retreat in Nepal. Like, you can do this. You can do this in Cincinnati. You can do this in Bucks County. You can just take half an hour, 20 minutes, 5 seconds for yourself to just be like, ooh, okay, I need to get quiet here. And we can't ignore the relationship with our partners just because our kids are kids and take our time. A lot of people tell themselves the story because it's a comforting story. Oh, this is just a hard season. The kids need a lot from us right now. Once the kids don't need so much. And I think it's quite often the female partner that's saying this to the male partner, even though a lot of things that come through my DMs and through my conversations with people don't fall along traditional gender lines. This is one of the things that men will come and they'll be like, I just miss my wife. Like, I really, really miss her. And she says, okay, well, when the kids take a lot of my time right now. It's really convenient that the kids take so much time. And I'm just going to call it out right now. It's really, really convenient that the kids take so much time. For me, my job took so much time, and it was really convenient for me that my job took so much time and my travel took so much time. And for a lot of people, they would say, oh, Ashleigh, you were like choosing your kids, or you're choosing your job over your kids, like for like where you really put a lot of energy. I love my kids. I'm not going to get into defending myself about that. But what I want to tell you is, it doesn't matter what you're using to ignore the fractures that are going on in your marriage. It's a distraction too. It's a distraction too. Okay. And to say, oh, but the kids need me so much. Yes and no. Yes and no. The kids need to be fed. All right. They need to be, in appropriate clothing for the weather conditions. And if they're not, kids are waterproof and they're washable. It's like really great, right? But pouring yourself into someone else will never make you feel whole. Even if that person is a child that came out of your own body. The way you can help your child feel more whole, and listen, I've seen thousands of parents over the years. While I was coaching skating, thousands of parents try different things to make their child feel whole. You can't. The best thing you can do is show them how you make yourself feel like a whole human every day. So that means telling your kids about your insecurities. That means making sure your kids don't know, or making sure your kids know you're not perfect. Okay. And that's one of the great gifts of having a memoir out in the world and being on TikTok and Instagram. My kids know that I don't even pretend I'm perfect. Okay. Like, cat's out of the bag, whatever. And I think that created more space in my life because I don't have to be friends or in relationship with anyone who would prefer that I just pretend I'm perfect. Because I'm like, hey, I already wrote all my deepest, darkest secrets, like out in a book, and thousands of people have read it. And I think it's going to become a series, possibly on Netflix. Like, listen, like, gig is up. So, but pouring into your kids seems like such a worthy way to spend your precious life and energy. But when that child goes to college and you don't have things for yourself or a connection with your partner, and you're like pulling on them to try to feel better, or wherever you go, you're not doing anybody any favors.
That's good. Yeah, I like this subject of your kids. I wish I could be a fly on your wall in your house, like at dinner time, and hear some of the conversations. When I was growing up, my parents never talked about sex. They never talked about their, physical or emotional connections. And that's something me and my wife try to do openly, is talk about, maybe not get into, extremely detailed stuff about our sex life. But I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy for kids to hear that their parents have sex and their parents do other acts in the bedroom to feel a physical connection with one another. Yeah. Do you get any kind of flack from other family members or other friends for having this kind of open dialogue with your kids?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think a lot of people are really curious about like what the conversations are with my kids, because I make videos about intimacy like probably every day, right? Okay, here's the thing. I usually record my videos when I'm in a room with the door shut, because like my kids are loud and I don't want distractions and that kind of thing. My kids do sometimes see my videos on TikTok. They don't follow me anymore. But they're not that interested. Like the things I talk about, it almost makes sex like less interesting for them. Like my 15-year-old was dating his girlfriend for a year and he didn't even kiss her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I just want people to know. And I mean, at 15, I was not like that. I was not like that. I want people to know their kids are going to be who they are, and exposing them to like, hey, this is how sex works. Grown-ups don't just do it to make babies. This is one of the most important things to me when I told them, when he was probably like 5 or 6, about reproduction. During like the second conversation, when I, was certain he understood like penis, vagina, sperm, egg, baby. All right. Like I was just going through like, these are the things, right? And grown-ups do this regularly, like all the time, because it's such a nice way to feel connected and it feels really good for their bodies. And as you get older, you're going to figure out on your own, like what things feel good for your body. And like, that's something everybody figures, like everybody does, like even grown-ups still do that on their own too. And like, it's just, you don't see Daddy and I do that because like we need privacy doing that and you need privacy and just like, that's it, whatever. It's really not that big of a deal. Now, my husband and I don't go to bed at the same time. I go to bed before anybody else in the house. So we have sex during the day sometime. The kids went back to school a couple weeks ago. So we're actually like we're practicing being empty nesters every day during the day. Like we're calling ourselves empty nesters, and like we're having some morning sex after like the kids are on the bus and stuff like that. Like we're like, hey, let's just practice. And we're super lucky because we both work from home. Okay. The kids, say we were, during pandemic or summer or whatever, if they're home and we're going to have sex, we don't announce, hey, everybody, we just, they know if they are looking for us, which honestly, they don't look for us very often. They like try to avoid us. Like what do they want from us? Honestly, right? We feed them regularly and then they're like, let me be on my screens or talking to my friends or whatever. And we're like, all right. We just go into the bedroom at 5 or 5:30 p.m. and just lock the door. And my husband, Manny, he always pushes something against the door too. I'm like, all right, if you want to, but he just wants to have like a laundry basket or something in front of the door. So that's what he does. And then the dog will whine at the door and the dog will come in the bedroom. And then he just is like, oh, they're not going to, he just goes and lays on his bed over there. And he's like quiet the whole time.
Getting a free show.
It was really weird. It was really weird at first, but I think everybody's pets, a lot of people's pets, are in the vicinity when they're intimate. And we just do whatever we're doing. And if one of the kids knocks on the door, we'll say, hey, we'll be out in a little bit. I don't know if they think we're having a sauna, if we're showering, if we're napping, if we're having sex. I honestly don't think they think about it, and I don't think they care. Yeah. Kids don't actually care that much about what their parents are doing. So it doesn't really have to be a secret. And my kids now, they're 15, 13, and 9. Okay. And my 13-year-old told me the other day, he's my in-house assistant. So I fired the 15-year-old. And I said to Jack, I'm so sorry I fired you, and I should have fired you a year ago. Like you were just not doing the job. You were not doing the job. And yeah, good luck in your future employment. So he's addressing books. He's sending out copies of Swing. Okay. So if anybody ever gets a book from me in the mail and it looks like it was addressed by a child, it's because it was addressed by a child. Okay. He gets paid $25 a week.
That's awesome.
So I said something about, I asked him a question because I think it came up in my DM. Someone asked about, hey, so curious, like, have your kids read your book, or do they see your videos, and I was like, no, they haven't read it. And I said to Luke, I was like, okay, Luke, have you read my book? And he's like, no. Like Mom, like, why would I do something that boring? It was like the look on his face. And I said, but you know what it's about, right? He's like, yeah. I say, know what it's about. And did I tell you guys that on the last podcast, how I told my kids what the book was about?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
Okay.
Refresh
this
us.
was really interesting. This was really interesting. I was driving my two oldest to Dick's Sporting Goods, okay, to get like football gloves. And that day, sample covers came in from my cover designer. And I was really down to the wire with my cover designs when Swing came out, because I was actually planning a photo shoot. It kept falling through during pandemic. And I was like, okay, we really have to decide what we're doing for this cover, because this book comes out in like 6 weeks. Okay. So I got these sample designs from the cover, and one of them was none of them were good, but we got to a good thing. But one of them was so wacky. It was like her assistant took the word swing and was like, oh, like swing era, like this bouffant hair and like this like poodle skirt thing. And like, it was very odd. And there were like pictures of kids, like clip art of my children, like swinging in my hair and stuff. It was like really very interesting. And it came up on my phone when I was at a red light, and I was like, oh my God, oh no. And the kids were like, what is it? And I passed it back. And they're like, Mom, you're going to tell her no. And this and blah, blah. Like they just turn into like my agents or managers, right? And they're looking through this. And then my 13-year-old, right? He's like 11 at the time. Luke, he goes, Mom, why is it called Swing again? Guys, spoiler, I had never told them why it was called Swing. So it's not like, why is it called Swing again? I'm like, oh yeah, because I would have told you, right? I was like, okay, listen. So I am like inside, I'm dying. Like, this cover's horrible. I'm not even going to publish this book. Pull the plug. This was a bad idea. Ashleigh, like, go back. No. Like, start over. This is not going to happen. So I'm feeling like panicked that we're not going to come to any sort of conclusion with this cover that looks like half decent. And I just say, honey, you know what monogamy is, right? And they're like, yeah, when you date one person. I said, yeah, okay, well, a lot of people, even though they are in a committed partnership, date other people at the same time. And I mean, they watch the NBA. They know celebrities are like dating this person, then this person. Like, a non-monogamy or like bouncing back and forth between people is like, isn't that like how dating works? Like, what? So when I said to them, that's how some people, when they're married, they actually date other people at the same time. I said, and your daddy and I thought that maybe we would want to do that. And we tried it and realized, whoa, that is way more complicated than we thought it was going to be. And we really have a lot of things we have to work on, just the two of us. And we didn't want any distractions like that. And we started to do that work. And, you know, that's the change you've seen in the last few years of how, like, mommy and daddy, like, we are so much happier together now than we used to be. And I said, do you have any questions about that? And he said, yeah. Is she going to change your hair on the cover? So I asked him the other day, so do you remember what the book's about? He's like, yeah, I know. And I said, okay. I said, and like TikTok, like, do any of your friends like know I'm on TikTok? They're like, yeah, they follow you. And they're like, your mom's famous on TikTok. And what he said was, and then I tell them, no, you're not really that famous.
That's hilarious. And I think I complimented you last podcast about your cover. I thought that was perfect. I liked how your hair was all up and the background was good. And I thought it was perfect. So I think
we got there. Mike. We got to a cover, but I'm really glad that we had that you know, the mistake on the cover, so that I could kind of let the cat out of the bag with with my older kids. And then I texted Manny from the parking lot at Dick's Sporting Goods, and I was like, oh, the kids know why it's called Swing now, okay? And he was like, gotcha, check mark.
Check.
Well, man, that's so it sounds like the book's doing really good, and you kind of gave us a little spoiler. What's going on with Netflix? Is this
okay?
What's going on?
We don't know for sure if it's going to be Netflix, but a few months ago, I started getting inquiries from producers from LA, like literally like, hey, I'm like Hollywood people, right? And I thought, okay, this is fascinating. So I started having these conversations, and then I started reaching out to writer friends of mine who have had their books optioned for film. So film options means it could be TV or movie. Okay. And saying, hey, do you have a good entertainment lawyer? Do you have this? Do you have that? Like, how I need to talk to someone to like take a look at these contracts I'm being offered. And one of them said to me, hey, call me, tell me what's going on. I said, okay, called her. She has a show coming out on HBO Max called A Boob's Life, which is about a woman in her 40s whose boobs start talking to her. Okay. and Selma Hayek's company is making this into a series for HBO Max.
Holy cow.
Okay. Yeah. And she's like, okay, wait, this friend of mine said, hey, I loved Swing, and I actually want to give it to my producer because I think it would be amazing on screen. And I want to. So she gave it to her producer. 48 hours later, I got a text from her, and she said, hey, they want it. And they want to know if you can Zoom like now. Like now? Yeah. Got on the Zoom, talked to the producing team. They were like, oh my God. They were like, we thought it was going to be something like sexy and funny, but it's not even about sex. It's like about family. It's like about like God. It's like about, and I was like, yes, thank you.
They got
Thank you. They got it. They got it. It feels so good when someone gets you. Okay. I just want everybody to remember that. Like, that's what we really want to in our marriages is we want to like say something and someone finishes our sentence or go like, do you know what I'm going to say about that? I know you're going to say blah, 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 because it just feels so good to be known and seen. Okay. So that means like when your spouse wants to do a little small talk thing with you, just go along with it. Cause like the way you feel loved and seen is like, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than that. So I feel seen by these producers. I sign with them right away. And then now the way it works is they bring in a co-producer. So the co-producer who they're trying to bring in, they'll tell you guys the name off the record because it's still, but okay. It has created some of the most incredible streaming series, period. Right. I was gonna say of our generation, but like this producer actually kind of started like streaming series. Okay. Wow. And we thought that they had the book a couple months ago, but I was in LA last month and we were checking in and they'd never received it. So then my book was driven over to the producer's house. So my book has a driver, which is like peak Hollywood. I was like, I peaked. I don't even need a red carpet, right? I don't even need a red carpet. My book has its own driver. So we're giving them time to consider it. And then if they don't, like our second and third picks are still like out of this stratosphere, like beyond A-list in my mind. And I'm like, this is just so fun and exciting. And I can't wait to see when this story is put on screen as a series, like a multi-season series, where the characters are going to go and what's going to happen. Yeah. Because I'm not precious about, but that didn't really, Ashleigh, it's TV. Okay. Just like, this is one of the things that I loved so much about choreographing synchronized skating. Okay. 12 to 20 athletes on the ice at a time, me, my assistant coach, and I have this idea. And my assistant coach and I talk about it like in, off season for like a few weeks, months, where then we're talking about costume designs. Okay. How could this go together? All right. Then we come to choreography camp and we say to the skaters, hey, this is what we're going to create together. The thing that we've created 50 hours later, 100 hours later, 3 months later, is more than I could have ever imagined. That co-creative process of bringing a story or a concept and then all the other people like start acting it out. I think writing for TV might be just like choreography, people. I think it might be just like choreography, writing like something that then someone's going to perform, you know? So I can't wait to learn this new industry and to sit with some of the smartest TV writers out there and have them take my story and go, and this is how it plays out in the first episode. This is where we end the first season. I just can't wait to see, I'm getting some tingles, what's going to happen and how people are going to relate to these characters in a different way, like seeing them on the screen. And I absolutely want the sex in the series to be incredible. I made the mistake today. Manny had told me that there was like a sex scene on the House of Dragons episode that just came out. And I went to he's like, yeah, I said, should I make like a video, like compare and contrast? He's like, nah, I don't know. But like, he pulled it up for me on TV and I watched it. And then I wondered if I should divorce him. Okay. Cause I was like, I asked you if it was violent and you said no, but actually like a child was raped and then she turned around. Anyway, it was like trigger warning for anybody who hasn't seen it. Like it just, the subtle ways they can show violence in that show without even like chopping someone's head off. Like it's like next level ninja moves, but I'm not actually interested in consuming it. So but what it did was it showed me, listen, the reason that people love the sex in swing, right, is that it's from the female perspective. One of the things my producer loves the most about this is like, she can imagine almost every man she knows going, hey, baby, let's go to a sex club. But in my book, I was the one driving the train. I was the one who was driving the bus. I was the gas. He was the brakes. I was like, no, let's go, let's go, let's go. And that role reversal, it just kind of flips expectations on its head. And I want the sex to be fantastic and like things you wouldn't expect and like empowering for everyone who, and like all of these things. But I also want everybody working on the project to know the sex is actually the most boring thing about what we're doing. The conversations, and that's why I'm really excited about whoever I work with, but the one producer who's considering joining us now, she pushes the envelope in every single direction. She's like, yeah, we're going to talk about this taboo thing, but actually we're going to be talking about all these things. So just taking that deeper and having the conversations in that series be the gut punch that they are in swing. Like so many people have reached out to say, oh my God, the conversations you had with your mother-in-law gave me the courage to do this tiny little thing. Or the fact that you said those things to your husband, like for your listeners, when our second child was born, we found out Manny, my beloved, had a tumor in his spine. Okay. And the first thing I thought was, oh my God, what if he dies? And the second thing I thought was, oh my God, what if he dies? And then I can do what I want. Like I could have the freedom to like find another relationship. Maybe I would have like a marriage in this lifetime that like felt like the way I wanted to feel. Like and when people hear, oh my God, she said that, because all of us have 1 or 2 or 3 or 7 nuggets like that we're like, oh my God, this thing I think that I could never say. Instead of being addicted to perfectionism or getting attention, like, you know, that brief interlude where we're in swing, where I fell in love with someone, he's my texting boyfriend, and he's, you know, saying like, hey, sunshine, you're so funny, like 700 times a day. That feels good. It feels good. But it's not really a sustainable kind of good. I then became addicted to having the honest conversations. And I got to tell you, the sky does not fall. The sky does not fall when you are actually honest with yourself or with someone else. But every single relationship changes where you do that. It's creating this incredible foundation of trust and respect for you to say, hey, I'm going to tell you this thing that's really awkward. And I feel like an absolute shithead saying it to you, but I know I have to say it. and I don't really know what's going to come out next, but I just need to say this. What you're communicating to that other person fully, completely is, I love you enough and respect you enough and trust you enough that I'm gonna spit out this thing that feels so ugly inside of me, but I know I just need to get out. Sometimes we just need to get something out into the light of day and then go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Now that I said that, I'm thinking something else, because until you say it, you're stuck. It's like you got something stuck in your throat, right? And you got to get it down or up. Like, do you drink water? Do you have a piece of bread? What do you do, right? Cough, like clear your throat. It's like, until that moves, that's so much of your attention and focus is going to be on that. When you say this to people, and this was what happened over and over with me, people looked at me or sat on the phone, and I didn't feel that awkward silence. I just said the thing, and then they said, okay. And then the thing they said after was different for every one of them. But the similarity was, I understand why you feel that way. Or I knew you felt that way. Or I've seen that. Or that's not surprising. Okay. Everybody already knows. Everybody already knows. If you think you are like pulling the wool over anyone's eyes, you're not. You're not James Bond. You're more like Austin Powers. Okay. You're like super sleuth. No, no, actually, you're not.
That's good.
Right?
That's good shit.
Yeah. You're not fooling anybody. But you spend a lot of time trying to fool yourself. Now, listen, I have to tell you that when you are really honest with people that way, there are going to be some people who are not willing to even go like 1/10 of the way into their truth to be able to respond, because you don't need someone to go as deep as you just did in order to respond. They just have to have an opening, like 1% willingness, 0.1%. They just have to go, ooh, if she can be that honest, can I? They just have to go like this. And if they do that, there's going to be some movement in that relationship. People who close down even tighter when you, from a vibration of integrity, people, if you just pull this out to like hit below the belt, that is not what I'm talking about. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like a really grounded, plugged in place where you go, there's this thing I need to get off my chest. And it's not to make you react in any way. It's that like, I can't have that inside me anymore. People who close down when you tell them the truth cannot handle you being you separate from them being them. So it's a really clear indicator that your fears about not being able to be truthful with that person, those fears were probably founded. Like you were right on. You knew they gave you the transmission, the communication silently and clearly for years. I'm not going to be okay with you if you're not this way that I want you to be. Okay. And those people probably are never going to be okay with you because they're never going to be okay with themselves. So relationships have dropped away from me, but none of them have been a surprise. None of them have been a surprise. The surprises have come from people I thought were impossible to get along with. And finally I said, listen, I find you impossible to get along with. And this is how I feel because XYZ, because I feel like I'm never going to be good enough for you unless I do this. And I'm not willing to do that. The surprises have come in the reactions, the responses, the shifts from those people. And those are some of my most beautiful, cherished relationships in my life now. Because when you can be that honest and show that much respect for someone, and they go, wow, that was hard, but you must really love me or respect me or trust me or all three in order to be this vulnerable with me, that's where magic can happen.
When you're helping these couples in their relationship, you know, you talking just now made me think of it seems like it's more of a emotional connection than physical with couples. Is that kind of what you see across the board? Like there's always,
oh yeah,
it's more of emotional disparage between the couple than physical. Like the physical
absolutely.
always gets better after that.
Yeah. So I make videos about sex, and in my DMs, everyone wants to talk about feelings. Everyone. People have said to me, oh, like you must get like a lot of inappropriate messages, blah, blah, blah. Touch wood. Never.
What?
Listen.
You're getting no dick pics? I imagine you get a lot of dick pics.
No, Jonathan.
Really?
I received one on Snapchat once, and it was the first. I don't really know how to use Snapchat.
That was Mike.
Here we go. So no, because then I would just go, actually, I would just end this interview. So no, I saw this, I had this one, and it was actually a video, and I was like, oh my God. And I just closed it, and I was like, all right, Snapchat's not for me. I don't even know like where that came from or how because I don't even know how to get to my messages in Snapchat. So that was like this one thing, and it was a couple years ago. Instagram, Facebook. I got two Facebooks, the personal page and the business page, right? Personal profile, business page. TikTok. I have over 500,000 followers now, and like almost 30,000 people on my email list. I have like so many messages going through. Not one. There's something about the vibe I put out that I'm like, hey, I would love to help you with sex. I feel like you're interested. People are like, thank you. How do we tread so carefully? Men come into my DMs and they say, hey, want to thank you so much for your content. They are already like paying me in gratitude before they even ask their personal question. All right. They're like, I don't want to mess this up. This seems like a cool lady who likes to talk about vibrators and blowjobs. And when I send my wife her videos, my wife doesn't slap me. This is interesting. And let's just respect this dynamic. Which I wouldn't really put up with anything else. I shared my marriage story with the world, right? I do these things. But I'm not going to be like, oh, so if someone messaged me, so what else are you into? I would be like, block, whatever. No, this isn't an OnlyFans. It's pretty clear. It's not that, right? And you have that. You can go and do that if you want, but that's not why people come to me. And even like, that's just not why people come to me. So yeah, people want to talk about feelings, and people just feel disconnected. That's why the not having sex or not having hot sex, and I talk about this in Keeping It Hot, the workbook, my second book. I have this diagram of hot sex is the tip of the iceberg. Okay. And so we know if we're having it or not. And we even think we know if other people are having it or not. But underneath is all of the things that make a relationship happy and healthy, and all of the things that make individuals feel whole and happy on their own. Okay. So ideally, hot sex is just the side effect of a great relationship with two whole, healthy humans. And so I have this exercise where people fill in the iceberg. I feel comfortable in my body. I know it's okay to love sex. I know it's okay to receive pleasure. I mean, and these are the kinds of things. I feel supported by my partner outside the bedroom, like these things. Okay. So what I found through my DMs and people saying, oh my God, like our marriage has changed so much in the past 6 months since we started watching your videos, like so much. And this is without them ever DMing me or emailing me, whatever. I don't even know if they've read Swing, some of them. And can you hear my dog barking? Because he wants to come in the room and I don't want it to be.
Sometimes, but it's very light.
Yeah.
I'm just going to open the door because then he's going to stop whining.
That's fine. It's all good.
See, we're going to get floral couches like that.
I wouldn't do the podcast anymore.
Gonna miss you.
Yep.
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 It's like he thinks there's sex going on in here or something. He's like, the door closed. Yeah.
It's like, shit, my show. I'm missing the show.
There are good vibes in there. The energy's so lovely. I like to nap to like just the pheromones and just like, okay. So hot sex can be the side effect of a good relationship. What what I'm finding in my messages from people who say, oh my gosh, our relationship has totally changed since we started following you 6 months ago, or whatever, is that it can also be, if we turn this iceberg on its side, it can be the doorway in to all these other conversations where there's too much resistance to talk about, hey, we are not equal partners in this home. I need more help with this or that. Or, hey, this responsibility I've always had is something I would love to give to you if you can handle it, because it's something that gives me so much anxiety. It just, I don't know why, and I don't want to explain. I just can you take over that for a bit? Or, hey, there's this thing that's coming up for me around sex, and I it's something that I haven't really talked to you about before, but I think I want to talk to a therapist because like there's something I need to work through here. All of these things that had so much resistance and fear around them before, after a couple realizes this has like this quick win with, oh, let's try something different in the bedroom, and they go and they try it and they have some fun, something's a little bit more exciting. They're like, oh, wow, when we work like we're the same, when we work together, like we're on the same team, magic happens. Magic happens. So when there's this willingness to cooperate in the bedroom, hey, maybe we get some lube, maybe we get a sex blanket, I'll fold it and covertly put it at the end of the bed when I'm in the mood, right? It's like when they start doing these little playful things that are like, you know, a secret of theirs. When was the last time you and your spouse had a secret that was fun? When, right? So when they have these little things, or, oh my gosh, yeah, we're going to order our first toy for the bedroom. They're like, oh my God, there's this thrill of like working together towards a common goal, which is like great orgasms or, you know, satisfying sex, however that looks for you. This willingness to say, oh, and I think maybe you'll be able to hear me if I say this thing now, or I just feel comfortable enough. So marriages are changing, right? Because when you're working against your partner to any degree, there will not be flow. There will not be harmony. You know, everybody knows. And when there's that slight disharmony, I don't know about you, but as a kid, if anything was off, I definitely thought it was my fault. Definitely. So this is one of the reasons why when we were struggling in our marriage, I would share a bit with the kids, not details, but mommy and daddy are having a hard time because we haven't been telling each other the truth. And when people don't tell each other the truth, there's like a lot of hurt feelings and then a lot of doubt about each other. Like, can I believe that? Can I believe that? So that's why mommy and daddy have been like having a lot of these conversations on our own that just feel like we're fighting. We're like, we have to work through this because we want to get to a place where we both trust that the other person's telling us the truth. And for kids, they're like, okay, not my fault. Amazing. Can I play Xbox? Right? So that's one thing that I want people to remember is that everybody already knows what's going on. So opening, like giving a little bit of space, shining a little bit of light on that, leads to improvements, not further despair.
Hit a little spot with you there. Is that some work you're doing recently?
Well, it's not the trust stuff, just work we're doing constantly with the kids getting older. And this is what I mean about the work continues to work you. Yeah. The work continues to work you out throughout your life. Different things that we're talking about as my career changes. And as we're like, okay, if there's a TV series, okay, how does this go? Where do we spend our time? What if there's what if, you know, it's like just a constant renegotiation. And I use the word renegotiation in such like an incredibly prosperous way where there's like so much room for possibility, right? It's not like, because the way that I think about negotiating now is, how do we each get what we want all the time? It's not a compromise. It's not a game of, okay, you want this, I want that. We can't both have that. Like just that's one of the things that I just assume you can get exactly what you want and you can get exactly what you want all the time. We just need to look a little beneath the needs. I'm going to use a really black and white example here. Okay. I've got this same DM from multiple people. So it's not the same DM, but it's the same story. Because there are situations of non-monogamy, attempted non-monogamy, right? I call myself the world's worst attempted swinger. And I was just on another podcast and they called me the world's best failed swinger. And I was like, ooh, I kind of like that, right? Because I'm the best now at being the worst. But anyway, perfectionism dies hard. I get messages from people who have practiced non-monogamy or tried non-monogamy in their marriages and are now monogamous for whatever reason. And they've read the book together to go, okay, so this couple, Ashleigh and Manny, in this book seem to have gone on a similar path as we did. And they worked things out to be in a better place. Whereas we kind of feel like, oh my God, did we break anything we did have that was good? Like, So I get this message from men sometimes when they have been involved in non-monogamy, especially like the wife share type non-monogamy, okay? Like where they have another man come into the house or the hotel room and that other man is physically intimate with their wife. And usually that husband watches, okay? So this is a whole like specific set, subcategory of non-monogamy. These men come to me and they go, okay, we stopped doing it for whatever reason. I really miss it, but my wife doesn't want to do it anymore. And I don't want to be a complete sleazebag who's saying, honey, would you please let that guy screw you? Right? So they come to me, listen, this is stuff they haven't even told their therapist, right? But they're like, Ashleigh, listen, which they know I'm going to listen and I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to, so what this comes down to for me is even in this situation where the needs and the wants of the two people seem very, very different, I think they can both get what they want. What the wife wants is to not feel objectified, to feel beautiful and appreciated. And like she turns on her husband just being her, just walking the dog, just picking up the kid, just, with her hair across her face, sleeping on a Sunday morning, right? What the man wants is not to get a hotel room and find some bull dude to come cuckold his wife. No, what the man really wants is to feel like he has something that's like admired by other people, like admired, desired, like he's created something in his life or attracted something in his life. He has the good fortune of like, it's the same reason guys go to car shows. Look at this hot rod I fixed up. And other guys come around and go, oh my God, man, that's like the best car, right? So similar. So I would just like to say that car shows are cuckolding with four wheels. Okay, that's what it is. It's like we have this desire sometimes for someone to go like, man, your car's awesome. Oh, your house, your pool, this. Oh, it's like to be filled up in that way where you can feel so proud, like, ooh, this amazing life I've created for myself, like other people would want it. Other people would want it. So I think in every situation in a marriage or a partnership, when you each want something that they seem they're at odds, the question to ask yourself is not whose turn is it to take less, whose turn is it to compromise, whose turn is it to lower the bar for what they really want. It's to say, hey, we're two intelligent people. How do we both get what we want? How do we both? And sometimes it takes a little looking underneath and looking behind the like want, like to really see, oh, no, I actually want this feeling. So it's not that we have to build the house with the indoor pool in the next 16 months. I just want to feel like, oh, I've created this life where I can really take care of my family and like oh, my kids have fun, and oh, their friends have fun with us. And because I'm saying those things for people watching on YouTube, that's the house that I want to build right there. Jeez. That I've been like really fixated on. And that feels really exciting for me, and like freedom and like love. And for Manny, it feels like terror. It feels like terror. Like, why would you want to plan to build a house that's going to cost millions of dollars before you have millions of dollars like staring at you in the bank account, like burning a hole, like millions of dollars so bored sitting there, and all your other investments are so maxed out that like, we have to do something with it, right? Never mind. He's an investor, and we all know that that's paying cash for a house is probably not the best way to use money. Like, mortgages are actually like a kind of debt that allows you to like do more with your capital, right? But for him, that's terror. He wants to see something like fully formed. Like, he wants $4 million to like take the shape of like a contemporary mountain home, like in the bank account. And then he goes, oh, I know what that's for. For me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to have that dream and then figure out how I'm going to make it happen. Okay. So just the figuring out what is the feeling that each of you want, and saying, no, we're not going to act on this until we figure out how we both get what we want. And that just changes the game. It changes the game, because instead of compromise, and then like with compromise, you get this bit of like, oh, okay, I'm not getting what I want. And next time I'm going to have to deal with him or her whining about not getting what they want, and kind of self, like, it's not even like when you get what you want, it's like, it feels so good because your partner doesn't.
I have one more kind of question I've been kind of conjuring up in my head. So, you've gotten into, you experience swinging, and swinging was such a taboo area. Like, you're stepping into the unknown. And so when you do that, you learn a whole lot. And so that's kind of what's brought you here, is now you're the guru of this, and you've learned a lot of things about relationships just in contrast of swinging. And do you ever, and you're doing a lot of exciting things. You're getting to connect with a lot of people. You may or may not have a Netflix deal coming up. So that's all new stuff too. But do you ever just have this itch to do the next taboo thing that would make you knowledgeable at another thing that's kind of outside of sex, or maybe related to sex? But I mean, I know that feeling is nice too, to kind of go where you've never been, because that's where that's where you get the most learning in. Maybe it's something that people just can't talk. There's a lot of things that people just can't talk about, and we need that person like you to make it normal,
Yeah. Okay. So I thought you were going to go somewhere different with that question, Mike. I thought
you can go the way you want to go.
Yeah. I thought you were going to ask me if, even though non-monogamy didn't work for us, do we ever think, oh, maybe we try it again, or maybe this, or maybe that? Like, do we ever want to go back to a sex club? That's where I thought you were going with that.
I could go that way too. So whatever you think you have a better answer for, let's go that way.
So in swing, what I truly found that I was in swing, I realized what I was really looking for. What I was really looking for was that excitement that comes from like deep in my belly, that doesn't actually come from like someone complimenting me or getting an A+ or winning a gold medal or making $1 million or. I was going for that spark of inspiration inside of me, in a world, in an environment where I know, I have the freedom to follow that. I have the freedom to do that. And I've created so much freedom in my days, in my life. Like, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you're so busy. Try to book a Zoom with me. And my assistant, Lauren, will say, Ashleigh has a max of 2 Zooms a day that she'll take. I have so much free time, and I have so much freedom. What Manny and I still talk about and contemplate is, listen, we love each other and we have fantastic sex, and monogamy is monotonous. It just is. It just is. And sometimes we'll ask each other. He usually brings it up, which is funny because I was the gas, during the swing era. He'll say, do you ever miss it? Like, do you ever like just want the club experience? And I'm like, yeah, all the time. All the time. Like I crave that because it was like such a high. It was such a high. But I have to tell you the part of that was such a high that I know I don't want to like play with that fire is it wasn't just like turning heads or seeing other people engage in super sexy behavior right there in front of me. The part that I always like go back to where I think of, it is in the chapter in Swing where we go to the club for the first time, as parents, as like a couple. We've been married 10 years and we meet that younger couple and we go in the back room with them and he and I kiss and he goes, "Oh my God, you're so hot." Listen, that attention, that is like heroin in my veins. And I want everybody to know you probably have a heroin/kryptonite as well. You have it. And maybe you reach for it every damn day and you are actually telling yourself it's okay. Okay? We all have that. I may have other ones that come up in my lifetime. That's a big one for me. So I know if we went back to a club, then I would be like, ooh, what about that couple there? Can we go in a back room? Because there's just something about that, that attention, that connection with another human to human who's like, I see you, I appreciate you. Like this is the you I see right now. Like, and for it to feel like they're right. Like, yes, I am hot. Thanks. But it sounds like it sounds really superficial, but I want people to know that it's like, there are these really real needs that we have as humans. And then there's this like superficial, highly charged version of that. Okay. Maybe that comes to you in the form of the drug that you pick up. Maybe that comes to you in your gambling addiction. Maybe that comes to you in driving way too fast. We all have different ways that we like, ooh, we touch that hot stove, right? When we are doing that, we are numbing ourselves from the vibrancy that's right here around us all the time. All the time. So I would rather sex be this much less exciting with my partner and not touch that thing that is a hot stove for me, because I really love loving my life every day, right? In like the ups and downs like this, that I don't need the highest highs anymore. And even with the talks about developing Swing into a streaming series, even that, I'm not hanging my hat on that's the thing that's going to make me feel fulfilled. I know that every day as a human, I'm going to feel a little unfulfilled. Sometimes a lot, sometimes a little. Even though, my book's doing great, my business is doing great, even though I love my husband and my kids, and every day as a human, I'm going to feel a little unfulfilled. And I have a choice to go, all right, drink a glass of water, go for a walk around the lake, cuddle with your kids when they come home. Don't do Wordle on your own. Save it and do it with Luke, because that is so fun. The little things, right? The little things that actually are everything. My focus is on those when I'm not waiting and jonesing for that high.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on porn. There's a lot of Instagram people that are are against porn, saying porn is bad, and I it very much can be. But what are your thoughts on porn, and have you used it to actually help couples? Because I know there's some, sex therapists that use porn to actually help couples.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm so glad you asked about this, Jonathan. So glad, because I don't make videos about porn, but I get a lot of questions about it in DMs. And the reason I don't make videos is because I think it's too nuanced of a topic to like explain in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So here's what I think about porn is that it's been stigmatized really strongly, like through purity culture and other things, that like any amount of it will destroy your life and your marriage, and you will be homeless on the street. And then it's like very like catastrophic, like if you let yourself partake in this at all. And I just don't think there's anything in the world that is that do or die. I just don't. Then there's this other part of the conversation where the majority of erotic video is made in a way that is very male-centered, very, demeaning of women, very like all of like the trends, right? If you look, even if you go to any porn site and go like, the top videos, it's like, holy moly, we're really coming up with lots of new ways to do this, aren't we? Aren't we? Like the new ways to like take the humanity out of sex, right? The whole like step family stuff is like, I didn't see that coming.
It's huge.
Okay. I didn't see that coming. But it's like, oh, how many different ways can we like twist this and make something that's so great be like so dirty so we can get turned on about it? I don't know. That being said, but there are like more ethical pornography producers, and a lot of them are like women driven companies. Like Erica Lust is someone I followed, and actually I've been wanting to talk to her and like set up an IG live or an interview. So there's a way to look at like, ooh, erotic imagery, erotic video. Like there's nothing inherently bad. Like there's actually like such a beautiful, incredible way that this could be done. So I think that there's like a whole bunch of different answers here, and everybody's coming from a different place into a marriage or a committed partnership with someone else, and they're coming from different angles. So there's a lot of conversation that has to, I think, happen around it. Or if you're both at a place where it's like, whatever, don't ask. I would say with us in our marriage, it's sort of like don't ask, don't tell, sort of, except you could ask if you want, but like, and that goes both ways. That goes both ways for us. And so that's where I am with it personally. I'm also from personal standpoint that sometimes if I'm watching pornography, it's like cool. It's like, it's never like, oh, all of that was hot and none of that was problematic and blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's like kind of a really low level art form in my mind, right? That like, you sort of have to ignore a whole bunch of stuff, whether it was like, bomp, chicka, womp, womp, whether it was the music you were ignoring and like the VHS tapes you found like in the 80s or 90s, or if it's ignoring like some other weird thing, you are using your mind to actually create the fantasy that you want. And I need people to hear that. Even when you're watching pornography, you are using your mind, the capacities of your mind, to create the turn on you really want. So just consider whether it's like doing the thing you think it is for you, or maybe you're doing more of the work.
Yeah. I always think it's weird how we, like you said, stigmatize pornography when everyone has sex. I agree. It's a nuanced discussion because there is like, choking women or something like that. Like the real, it
can go really far. And for a lot of people, erotic video content is on the same plane as child sexual abuse materials. So, and I think that is where we get in a really like the blanket statement that all pornography is bad has actually created this situation where people don't understand actually what child porn, child sexual abuse materials like are. They don't understand. They just think the people are younger. Like they don't get it. So that, and I think a lot of that conversation has come out of like the Josh Duggar trial, and, you know, people, especially like ex-evangelical people who are like, hey, I need you to know what a lot of churches are teaching about all of this, so that we can say, no, nuance matters in this conversation.
Yeah, it's not just the young girls then. Those older women were the young girls. You know, they were, and then that's why they think it's, well, some of them think that's why they think it's normal, you know, because they grew up in that or whatever. Yeah. And I'm sure some is by choice, but yeah, you're very, very right about that.
So you're saying like the women who choose to be in pornography, you mean, or people? What were you talking about?
So, you know, we were talking maybe that some pornography is child trafficking, and while they're a child, that's kind of the thing, but those children grow up and they're still in it. So those older people were once the child.
And I'd never actually even thought about it that way. Thank you for pointing it out that way, because I hadn't actually thought like, yes, this started, or the way that they got there was, you know, as before they were adult without consent. Like I'd never actually thought about that, how that happened. So thank you for that.
I don't think I did either until right now.
You just made it up. Just pulled it out of your ass.
As I go.
I know. That's the best. That's when you know you're having a good conversation, when words come out of your mouth you've never heard together before. And you're like, that was good. Hope someone's recording this.
Damn it, the camera turned off.
Yeah. Damn, I forgot to hit record again.
I believe that.
Well, Ashleigh, we had a great time. We know you have a busy schedule. How can people, so your workbook, your new workbook, everyone can buy it off your website. What about the other bookstores and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Keeping It Hot, the workbook, is my second book. Swing, my memoir, the one we were talking about here, that's like very taboo, but not in the way you think. Or in additional ways you think. They're both available everywhere books are sold. So not every bookstore carries every book. So like going to the online options for ordering, even from your local bookstore, is better. You guys can find me at Ashleigh Renard on Instagram. Ashleigh has lots of extra letters. It's the long Ashleigh, ASHLEIGH. I'm active there every day. Also, you know, TikTok, Facebook, but Instagram is really my home. That's where I create the conversations each night with people. And I'm just so happy when people come hang out. So if you hear this episode, come send me a DM on Instagram. I'd love to say hi.
Yep. We're huge fans, and we wish you nothing but success, Ashleigh. We love everything you do. So stick around because we want to hear the producer.
Awesome. I'll stay on.
All right.
Thank you guys.
I'll see you later.